may be seated. Good evening and welcome. Before we go any further, let's congratulate Marcus and the boys on a soccer sub-state win today. Given all those days we missed during the winter, we still are in school next Thursday, but you guys are excused. Just a heads up, we're going to probably do something different that day, like have a longer day on Wednesday and a very short day on Thursday, but we'll let you know. Marcus confessed that he encouraged you to make it as difficult as possible here at the end. Great job. We come together this evening as the IMS community to celebrate you, the class of 2019, to celebrate the gift that God has granted to us in the form of you all, who make up this wonderfully diverse class. We as parents love you. We thank God for you each and every day. I, at this time, invite Billy and Cindy Bontrager, parents of graduating senior Blake Bontrager, to lead us in the invocation. Following the invocation, senior Adria Eppersol will lead us in the hymn, When Peace Like a River, which you will find printed in your program. And then following the hymn, our touring choir, under the direction of Mike Wagner, will sing 3 numbers.
Please bow your heads with us. Lord, we thank you for Iowa Mennonite School, and we thank you for the opportunity that these students have all had to attend IMS. We are grateful that these students all got to hear about your love, grace, and forgiveness, and that you came and you died on the cross for each one of us here tonight. We pray, Lord, that these graduates always seek and desire to have a relationship with you, because we know you always bring hope. We pray that they continue their faith journey as they leave here, and they all strive to dig deeper into your word. And Lord, we know that IMS would not be what it is today without the amazing staff here at IMS that you have provided and will provide in the years to come. We are grateful for each of them, and that these students have had 4 years to have them as teachers, staff, coaches, and mentors. And also that the graduates have gotten to see the staff live out their faith testimony by walking with you in their words, actions, and deeds.
In Joshua 1:9, you command us to be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. We pray the graduates here take that verse to heart and know that there will be struggles as you go forward, but the Lord will be with you wherever you go, and hold tight to his promises. In Jesus' name,
amen.
I'm going to take just one quick second to speak and read through the translation of our next piece. We're going to sing Esto Les Digo, which is in Spanish, and I wanted you all to know the translation as well. It's verse Matthew 18, 19 to 20. Again, truly I tell you that if two of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For when 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them. This is Esto Les Digo.
Our speaker this evening for baccalaureate is Randall Ney. And I don't want to bypass, I'm sorry, choir, that was outstanding. It is always so good to hear you sing. Our speaker this evening is Randall Ney, and Randall is known to many of us here as a parent and assistant softball coach. Randall was born in Iowa, but he grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And his parents are here tonight from New Mexico. He returned to Iowa for college, where he met his wife, Catherine. For the past 20 years, they have lived on a tree farm along the English River. All 4 of their children will have graduated from IMS by the end of this weekend. Hannah in 2007, Levi 2008, Jesse in 2009. And a decade later, Rubye in 2019. They have one grandchild, Teddy, who will be in the class here at IMS 2037. Randall and Catherine are members of the West Union Mennonite Church. Randall currently works as an immigration attorney for the University of Iowa. Please join me in welcoming Randall Ney.
IMS has been a large part of my family's life for the past 16 or so years. We've experienced a great deal of joy here. We have made dear friends. The school has often been our gathering place, so it is a real honor for me to be a part of your baccalaureate ceremony. 39 years ago, when I was sitting where you are now, I'm pretty sure my mind was 100 miles away. I remember very little from that particular day, which is oddly reassuring as I stand here speaking to you now. I was probably thinking about what I was going to do when all the pomp and circumstance was over. After graduation, about a week after graduation, I took off with 5 of my high school buddies to work for the National Forest Service as tree planters in the mountains of southwestern Colorado. Our crew worked to reforest mountainsides that had been clear-cut. Each day, we went out into the wilderness and planted pine seedlings using this primitive tool they call a hodan. One of my friends is holding it up there in the back of the picture. I never have had a more awe-inspiring job, or a stranger collection of coworkers. That summer was the end of my career as a professional tree planter. But I'm hoping to return to the field someday. And this is my guidebook. This is a little book whose title is The Man Who Planted Trees. It is a simple fable written 60 years ago, and it takes place in the south of France, around 1900. The storyteller is a traveler who's traveling through the mountains alone, and the mountainsides have been deforested. The villages he passes through are poor and unhappy. The springs have run dry. The traveler happens upon a middle-aged shepherd tending his flock high up in the mountains. The traveler accompanies the shepherd to the top of a ridge, and this is what the traveler describes that he saw. The shepherd began thrusting an iron rod into the earth, making a hole in which he planted an acorn. Then he refilled the hole. He was planting oak trees. I asked him if the land belonged to him. He answered, no. Did he know whose it was? He did not. For 3 years he'd been planting trees in this wilderness. He had planted 100,000. Of the 100,000, 20,000 had sprouted. Of the 20,000, he still expected to lose about half, to rodents or to the unpredictable designs of Providence. There remained 10,000 oak trees to grow where nothing had grown before. It was his opinion that this land was dying for want of trees. Well, the traveler moves on. He fights in World War I. He survives the war's carnage. And after the war, he finds himself traveling again, alone and disillusioned, through the same mountainous region. To the traveler's surprise, he comes upon the shepherd. And this is what he reports he saw 10 years after his first visit. The oaks of 1910 were now 10 years old and taller than either of us. It was an impressive spectacle. We spent the whole day walking in silence through the shepherd's forest. When you remembered that all this had sprung from the hands and the soul of this one man, without technical resources, you understood that humans could be as effectual as God in realms other than destruction. Creation seemed to come about in a sort of chain reaction. As we went back toward the village, I saw water flowing in brooks that had been dry since human memory. Well, another 30 years passed by, and the traveler returns to that mountainous region one last time. It is now almost 4 decades since the shepherd had begun planting trees in that poor, lifeless landscape. 2 world wars had come and gone, and yet the traveler finds that the shepherd's countryside was full of life and prosperity. The traveler says to himself, seeing that one man, armed only with his own physical and moral resources, was able to cause this land of Canaan to spring from the wasteland, convinced me that in spite of everything, humanity is admirable. Well, this is only a fable, a fictional story about one man's mission to renew a little corner of the earth and the resulting resurrection of a human community. But like any good fable, it teaches some important lessons. That one person, regardless of age, can make a big difference. That in loving and caring for this earth, we love and care for our neighbor. That taking the long view, thinking beyond the next day, the next year, or even the next 100 years, builds perseverance. And that believing in the possibility of renewal, that new life will spring from what appears to be dead, transforms work into vocation. The shepherd in this fable is a fictional character, but he has real-life counterparts. This is Jadav Payam. He is known as the forest man of India. When he was about your age, he began to plant trees on a barren island in the middle of one of the world's mightiest rivers in northeast India. He was inspired to begin his work when he saw that animals were dying on the island for lack of shade and water. Over the past 40 years, his forest, that began with a few bamboo seedlings, has grown to 1,300 acres, an area larger than Central Park in New York City. His forest is now home to a migrating herd of elephants, to tigers, and to countless other creatures. He has single-handedly transformed the landscape and brought life back to a barren land. Here he is, standing next to the first tree he planted 40 years ago. When he was asked what has sustained him for those 40 years of solitary work, he said, "I see God in nature. Nature is God. It gives me inspiration. It gives me power. As long as it survives, I survive." In the past few years, the world has taken notice. Jadav has received awards from the Indian government, has been the subject of a National Geographic documentary, and a children's book has been written about his work, Jadav in the Tree Place. What does he think of this? He says, "I never thought my small initiative would make such a difference one day." And he is still planting trees. This is Wangari Maathai. She received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 for planting trees. She was the first African woman to receive a Nobel Prize. In 1977, she founded the Green Belt movement in Kenya. This is how she explained her work in her Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech. "Mount Kenya is a sacred place. The equator passes right on its top, and it has a unique habitat and heritage. Because it is a glacier-topped mountain, it is the source of many of Kenya's rivers. Now, partly because of climate change and partly because of logging and encroachment through cultivation of crops, the glaciers are melting. Many of the rivers flowing from Mount Kenya have either dried up or become very low. We began the Green Belt movement because we believed that all that was needed was to teach people how to plant trees and make connections between their own problems and their degraded environment." Wangari and the local women with whom she has worked have together planted over 30 million trees. The forest they have planted now supports their children's educational needs and their household needs. In a newspaper interview towards the end of her life, Wangari Maathai said, "The tree is just a symbol. The act of planting trees is a symbol of revitalizing the community. Everyone should plant a tree." That's not a fable. The life and work of Jadav and Wangari embody deeply held beliefs that one person can indeed make a big difference. That in loving and caring for our earthly home, we love and care for our neighbor. That taking the long view instills perseverance. And that believing in the possibility of renewal transforms our work into our vocation. Of course, there are many real-life tree planters who haven't become famous. They haven't won Nobel Prizes. You're surrounded by many of them now. We are here in this school today in the Iowa countryside, in this beautiful celebration hall, because of them. And after I prepared this talk, I learned that you have decided to use your class gift to plant ash trees on our campus here. So I get it. I've been preaching to the choir. I want to close by reading a part of a poem by Wendell Berry. This poem is a tribute to people like Jada Payam and Wangari Maathai, to the people right here in this room. It is also an encouragement to people like you who are just setting out on their work. So friends, every day, do something that won't compute. Love the Lord. Love the world. Work for nothing. Love someone who does not deserve it. Invest in the millennium. Plant sequoias. Say that your main crop is the forest that you did not plant and that you will not live to harvest. Practice resurrection. Class of 2019, may God bless you.
Thank you, Randall, for sharing that talk with us. I invite Rubye Ney and Ignacio Brandon Jimenez to the stage. Rubye is the daughter of Randall and Catherine Ney, and Brandon is the son of Ignacio and Melitza Jimenez. Rubye and Brandon will present the student addresses, with Rubye going first.
Many of my first memories are from here at IMS. When I started elementary school, my mom taught family consumer sciences and coached softball here. The bus would drop me off with Caleb at the front door, and we would run up to Mary Forney's room to jump on her beanbag or scrounge for quarters out of our backpacks to buy pudding packs from the vending machines. Just outside the celebration hall doors, we could be caught by Tony Miller, the principal at the time, running around or playing hacky sack during basketball games. Our group of friends is the reason for the new keep out signs beneath the bleachers now. Looking back, I really think that it was the perfect life for a kid like me. I was a 9-year-old living with a teenager's personality from spending so many hours here. This was something my parents and teachers definitely did not like, but I loved. The IMS Club, as we referred to the group of us who knew we would be attending IMS from a young age at Washington Township, formed a tight friendship in our earliest years. We knew all of the secret staircases in the building and how to get free food from the concession stand by telling them to just put it on my mom's tab. IMS was a big part of my earliest years, but when it came time for my own first day of high school here, it didn't feel like it could be real. The lockers were still the same burnt orange, Gloria still taught geometry with the overhead projector, and the tree on the island was still growing strong. But it was an entirely different school. I was finally experiencing high school at IMS for myself as a real-life student. Thinking back to that girl who walked through the front doors on the first day of school in August 2015, I am very, very grateful for the teachers and community members who have turned me into a much better version of myself. And I'm sure that all of my classmates in front of me can say the same. Classes here have challenged us far beyond academics. Teachers are cheerleaders, role models, and shoulders to cry on. Each teacher has made an impact on me, even if I haven't taken any classes from them. I know that in 10 years, the majority of my memories will be from the time spent with my teachers. They spend a week with us every other year for service, offer morning and after school hours, coach us in our athletics, beatbox for us, plan chapels, and support us through everything that life has thrown at us. And that, of course, also goes out to those of you who don't have classrooms here. the office ladies who have always helped me the countless times I have sprinted to the office to have something printed in an emergency, to Jeremy and Teresa who have been so patient with me this last week with all of my graphic design complications. I can know that Candy's office will always have her comfy couches and Bob Ross Chia Pet. Joe and Mike can be counted on for a genuine smile whenever I pass them in the halls. Bruce, for goodness sakes, came all the way from Ohio this year to be our guidance counselor. And Dwight is just always here. So each one of these people is such an important piece to keeping the school running smoothly. Our school is about the community. You may have heard that said once or twice, but it's stated so often because it is so true. There are endless waves of support from our community members who stay involved purely because they love the school. I think it's worthwhile to take a step back every so often to really appreciate the late nights and early mornings everyone puts in to help us as students. All of these people make IMS the outstanding school that it is. Without the people here, our school would be just like any other. So even when it feels like everything is changing around us, the love and loyalty from the people here remains steadfast. Thank you.
Bendiciones, blessings to you all. So when I spoke with Marcus about speaking for baccalaureate, he told me I could basically say anything that I wanted to, and honestly, I did not know what to do with that kind of power. But I hope that through just the few words that I share today, you can catch even just a smidge of the essence of the class of 2019, and even a smaller smidge of what all God can do through this place, IMS. I remember when I chose to go to IMS. It wasn't a last-minute, heart-wrenching decision in the last semester of the 8th grade. I remember going to some IMS events and going to some visit days with my brother who was here at IMS. I remember thinking about how great IMS was for so many different reasons, but ultimately I saw something in the people here at IMS. Something special in the teachers and students and community of IMS. And I can honestly say today that my decision to come here has been one of the best decisions I've made in my life so far. I remember thinking about how great IMS would be, but especially because of the small class sizes. I thought about how everyone seems to know each other and is always super friendly with one another, and just how everyone at IMS seems to get along so well. Community has always been emphasized here, just as Rubye mentioned, and I was excited to have a sense of family at school. But as the often naive optimist that I am, I never realized that families can be dysfunctional at times. And as great as IMS is, it is no exception. Seniors, do you remember the first class party we had at Cole's house? Yeah, that one where we accidentally broke the window. Sorry, Troy and Jenny. We mostly all knew each other from attending the same middle school, but it was our first time all hanging out together as a class. We were all kind of cliquey, but it was still so much fun, and it was kind of exciting to see the group of people that we would someday graduate with. And then the freshman lock-in. Isn't it crazy to think about how long ago that was? But I think it's even crazier to think about how close a bunch of random, awkward, prepubescent kids can form such a strong bond in only some hours. And all the other class parties we had. Remember how much fun we had. Remember when all we fixed our attention on was being classmates and friends. Now, when did we shift our attention from being classmates and friends to being the CFL class or the Signal class? When did we go from classmates and friends to liberals and conservatives? Maybe what I should be asking is, why did we change to this? Change happens all the time. It's a part of life. It's how we grow. Class of 2019, we know how much we've changed and how much we've grown. We've grown in so many more ways than just academically, whether it be positively or negatively. We've grown in our ambition and persistence, in our maturity and thinking. We've grown to be speakers and thinkers and teachers and leaders. Throughout our struggles as a class, we've cultivated an immense sense of resilience. And perhaps our thought process has been that we've just grown in two separate ways. Maybe we've changed so much that we just can't relate with one another the same way we used to. Maybe, as many of us are thinking right now, we should just forget about reconciliation and move on. But you all know me, and I propose something else. I propose reconciliation is closer than we think. Pop quiz, seniors. What's been the Bible passage that we've based our chapels on this whole past year? Romans 12. And do you guys know what Romans 12 verse 2 says? Yep, it's that one verse that says something, be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Now, I personally like the Message interpretation, and it reads, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. And now I know that not all of us believe in God, but I do know that we all believe in love. And I believe the two are synonymous. Fix your attention on love. You will be changed from the inside out. The rest of the passage focuses on how we can fix our attention on love. And it eventually comes to one of my favorite parts of Scripture. As it reads in the Message, don't hit back. Discover beauty in everyone. Do you remember that verse? Discover beauty in everyone. Seniors, why have we been hitting back? I know we're capable of discovering beauty. We've done it before. We did it just the other day when we were camping out. Why do we get caught up on fixing our attention on such trivial things? We fix our attention on things like pro-life versus pro-choice, on LGBTQ rights versus traditional marriage, on Republican versus Democrat. For class of 2019, my prayer is that we may fix our attention on Rubye, and on Caleb, and on Adria and Jeremy, Greta, Cody, Karen, Cole, Susanna, Jacob, Lara, Blake, Maddie, Trevor, Mackenzie, Micah, Ava, Lewis, Rachel, Stephen, Tyler. Just like we did at class parties, and on senior trip, and around that bonfire just 3 days ago. Let's fix our attention on love. Now, this is definitely much easier said than done, as we all know. There are a lot of times when discovering beauty in people is just so difficult, but it doesn't mean it's not there. When talking with Marcus, he said that overall our class is just a small-scale representation of society. Our class is a display of diversity. We're unique through our differences. And as we know, we can often butt heads because of those differences. We often want to just remain in our cliques and keep our comfort zones, and not have to deal with the other group of people. And sure, it can work when choosing partners for projects or at the lunch table, but the truth is we've always had to interact with one another the majority of the time. And this will continue to be the case the rest of our lives. There will be people that we encounter in this life that will be more difficult to get along with than it's been for us. And at the end of the day, there are only two choices to make. We can separate ourselves from them, or we can try and discover beauty in them. In an age where we struggle to find our identity and our own inner beauty, let us not forget that our universal identity is in love, and let our resilience be in keeping that identity. So that is my greatest prayer for us, class of 2019, a prayer of resilience, to be resilient in discovering beauty and in fixing our attention on love. Amen.
Thank you, Rubye and Brandon. That was amazing. I would at this time like to draw your attention to our non-returning faculty and staff for a minute. Faculty or staff member, as I talk about you, I would like for you to stand so that we can see you. The first one's not here, Danya Mosbeck. Danya is celebrating her son's graduation this evening. We are grateful to Danya for her spirit of commitment, service, and goodness, and she will be missed next year. She is planning to find work closer to her home in Cedar Rapids next year. So big thank you to Danya. And when you have a chance to see her, just thank her. You know, she was just here part-time just this year, She really helped us out, and we're really grateful for that. Jane Slaubaugh. Is Jane here this evening? She is. Jane retired from IMS a year ago. But we reeled her back in for the second semester, very part-time. This was a see a need, fill a need situation, and Jane responded to our need as a tech specialist. Jane just kind of blends in. She's here. She's part of who we are, and just feels like she belongs here. So maybe another year we find another way to bring Jane back. But thank you, Jane. But a hand for Jane. Bruce Cooker. Bruce came out of retirement in Ohio this year to fill in the guidance and athletic director roles part-time as I moved into the interim principal position. Bruce served on our administrative team. He also assisted with some administrative responsibilities, including the always enjoyable attendance and tardies part. I cannot thank Bruce enough for filling a very important need for us this year. His wife Cheryl is here this evening. Cheryl, we thank you for being willing to allow Bruce to do this among us. More than anything, Bruce is a servant. He's been here to serve. And I think our students and our staff all see that very clearly and appreciate him for this. Thank you, Bruce. Candy Schmieder. Come down here, Candy. Candy has been our Director of Development, the Director of Enrollment the last 8 years. She has poured her heart and soul into IMS during this time. Candy is a giver, and a word that describes the person that Candy is to me is generosity. Candy freely gives of herself and her resources. It was neat to hear our senior Lewis in chapel a few days ago speak of his appreciation for Candy as he has stayed in her and Doug's home and how it has filled an empty spot in his life. Thank you, Candy, for reaching out to so many in your time at IMS. Your compassion and your love will be missed. We are glad that you can spend more time with your dad at a very important time for him and for you. May God richly bless you and be present with you. We love you and we will miss you. Joe Schwarzenegger. I just appreciate Joe coming tonight. He did not want to have to do this. Joe has been here for 19 years, and he has kept the place humming through that time. Joe is extremely talented. He is kind. He is a tireless worker. Joe has been very helpful in training our new facilities manager, Zach Weiss. Joe is a servant, and he always makes himself available to meet whatever need we have. He has offered himself as a resource to Zach as Zach moves in and as Zach gets used to the new role. And so that's just really nice that Joe is willing to do that. Joe, you deserve the best that retirement can give you. We love you. We will miss you. Brother Joseph. Mary Lou has been here for 23 years and has been a tremendous asset to our school during that time. Mary Lou is loyal, trustworthy, hardworking, dependable, kind, and giving. She is always willing to help in whatever way she can. Mary Lou, may your time with grandchildren and family be a blessing. Your grandchildren are lucky to have you as their grandma. We love you and we will miss you, Mary Lou. veteran of the group, having served IMS 25 years. She came here after college. She taught business for 3 years. She married Galen. She stepped away to raise a family for 14 years and then came back, and she taught math. She has been in charge of our Silver Cord program. She has led our Compassion Club. Gloria, like the others, is a genuinely committed follower of Jesus and has been a great example of one who lives out her faith every day. Gloria, thank you for your commitment to IMS and also to the many exchange students that you and Galen have kept in your home. Your example of humility and service is an encouragement to so many. May your time with grandchildren be a blessing to you and Galen. We love you and we will miss you. Following the benediction, the board invites you to a reception in the lower lobby just outside here for these folks, to honor these folks that have given so much over the last number of years. So please greet Joe and Jane and Mary Lou and Bruce and Candy and Gloria and shower them with the love and the heartfelt thanks that we have for each of them. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Come back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And now, please rise as Adria Ebersol leads us in the singing of My Hope is Built on Nothing Less. Again, found in your program. Following the hymn, Lee Ebersol, father of Adria, and our Bible instructor will lead us in the benediction.
This benediction is adapted from a prayer which is attributed to St. Francis and also from Galatians 5. So as we go from here, may we all be instruments of Christ's peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow seeds of love. Where there is injury, let us sow seeds of pardon. Where there is doubt, let us sow seeds of faith. Where there is despair, let us sow seeds of hope. Where there is darkness, let us sow seeds of light. And where there is sadness, let us sow seeds of joy. As we go from here, may the seeds that we sow bear fruits of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, so that the light of Christ shines through us into the world. Amen.